Well, it's another rainy day at the shop, but I gotta get this camshaft swapped out. So I'm gonna show you a couple tools you can use to get that accomplished, as well as a couple alternatives to those tools. So I replaced the springs and seals on this head in an earlier video. Now you may not need to replace your springs and seals, but in order to do a camshaft, you will need to remove all the rocker arms and all the push rods. So go ahead and make sure you got that done before you move to the next step. If you want to see how to do it, you can check my other video out. First thing we're gonna do is line up the dots on the timing gears. We want the dot on the camshaft gear to be right here, and the dot on the crank gear right here. This is the position we want the dots in. We're going to go ahead and take these 3 bolts out. They are 10 millimeter. And buzz them out. Okay. We're going to go ahead and take this off because we are replacing it. We're going to take the 4 bolts out for the cam retaining plate. So the next thing we need to do is spin this camshaft around several times to lock the lifters up in place so they don't fall into the engine and give us a really bad day. I'm going to go ahead and put this tool on from ICT Billet, and not only use this to pull the camshaft out, but use it to spin it around. I'm just going to give it a few spins. You could use wooden dowels for this, or you could use this product from Powerhouse, which is similar to a wooden dowel, only made out of metal, which I like a whole lot better. You're just going to slip these into the hole. They should go all the way back. With these in place, we don't have to worry about our lifters dropping down. Now, I'm using this really nice handle from ICT Billet, but you could also use a couple really long bolts on the end of this. If you can get them out to about here, that'd work great. Or you could take a large flat blade screwdriver. There's a hole right down the middle of the camshaft that you could put that in to pull this out. I like that this is connected. I'm a little clumsy sometimes, so I prefer this. You just want to be careful bringing it out so that you don't mess up the bearings. There she is. If you're doing camshaft bearings, this would be the time to do it. However, I'm not. To get the camshaft right, I'm going to go ahead and put assembly lube on it. Now you can see I'm wearing a glove, and that is because I'm going to use the glove to spread the assembly lube around. I'm not going to use a rag because I really don't want to get any lint or anything all over the camshaft. And you want to just make sure all the lobe and bearing surfaces are covered with the assembly lube. Then it's time to go in. It's going to go in the same way it came out, which is very carefully. Alright, we're in. Next up I'm going to use 3-jaw puller, get this bottom pulley off. It's a little kludgy, but it works. Now it did spin a little bit off top dead center, so I will have to move it back when I put the new gear on. Here's our new gear. It does have a key lay. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the old one because I'm not planning on reusing it for anything. And I'm just going to tap that in until it's flush. So the cam's in. We've cleaned all the surfaces for the retaining plate. Now it's time to put the retaining plate on. Now I'm putting a new retaining plate on because this is a junkyard motor. It's got a lot of miles on it. And when these gaskets go bad and oil starts to blow by, you'll end up getting low oil pressure. So there's no reason not to replace this. A new one's fairly inexpensive. You can get it from Amazon. This is a Gen 4 plate, which is fine. It's identical to a Gen 3, except instead of using a bolt like this, it uses a countersunk Allen bolt. So make sure when you're ordering this plate, the odds are pretty good they're going to send you a Gen 4, and if you've got the Gen 3 bolts, they're not going to work. So make sure you buy one that's already got the countersunk Allen bolts. We're going to go ahead and take our lifter retaining rods out. We don't need these anymore. They have done their job. Plate just goes on the same way it came off. The torque specs for this is 18 foot-pounds, but I'll put all the torque specs at the end of the video. all there is to it. Next up is our timing chain and cam sprocket. We want to make sure that our dots are lined up dot to dot. That looks pretty good. We're just going to take our chain, put it on here. Now if you look, that is off one. That is where we want it. Okay, looks good. And then 3 bolts in. Torque for this is 26 foot-pounds. Time to put our push rods back in. Now I'm just dipping the end of each one in some assembly lube. Probably doesn't really do anything for it, but makes me feel better. Go ahead and put the rocker arms back on. I'm going to go ahead and zip these down a bit before I torque them. Now we're going to torque the rockers down. Spec on these is 22 foot-pounds. I can see that a couple of these are either in the intake or the exhaust stroke. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those alone. Take care of everything that's either in the power or compression stroke. Spin the engine and then go back to those. For 22 foot-pounds on these. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but it's definitely at an angle, so it's in the middle of the intake stroke. And this one's in the exhaust. This one's intake. Okay, we need 8, 4, 3, and 7. And yes, I might just replay that to remind myself what they are. That's it. I'm going to make sure they're all clicking real quick. Links to everything I use will be in the description. Next video coming up on the No Name Nationals engine will be the oil pump pickup. Then we will put the oil pan on and the timing cover back on, and so you can see how that's all done. And then maybe the water pump. So look, if you liked the video or you didn't like the video, please subscribe. Really helps us out. Right after I finish this spiel, I'll show you all the torque specs. Have a good one. See y'all down the road. Oh man, why didn't I put some of this ultra slick on the timing chain? Well, I'm just going to do that while everyone else is writing down the torque specs. They will never know.